I know it's obviously the first time you've spoken since Phil Neville's departure. Kind of what went into that decision and what were the deciding factors?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we had Phil for 2.5 seasons, and I actually think for a large part of that, the team performed well at times. I think as we got into the end of last season, going through the playoffs, this was a big season for us in starting out and wanting to see strides made within the group and within the team. Certainly, we had very pointed discussions this offseason in a number of areas that we wanted to try to see improvements, but also build on some of the work that had been done and where the team was at. We knew it was going to be a difficult start to the season with the schedule, but ultimately we felt like we fell short, not just in points and results, but in some performance areas for us as well. I think it was probably mentioned that Phil was like the sixth longest tenured coach in MLS. And so we felt like it was time to make a change and to look in a new direction. And there's been a lot of work in between that time and where we're at now, which obviously I'm excited to speak about, updates as well.
Can you share those updates on sort of the coaching process and how many hires you've done, if you've narrowed it down, et cetera?
Yeah, look, it's been a very busy few weeks, 3 weeks or so. I feel really good about where we're at. We are on track, if not ahead of schedule, of where I'd like us to be, and that's with a lot of efforts from a lot of different people. I would say we've gone through no less than 20 pretty in-depth interviews with candidates from all around the world, and I am confident right now that we are forming and shaping a finalist group of 5 to 6 coaches. I would say over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we have to go through a lot more with those people, which is always really important. But hopefully that puts us on track towards the beginning of July to be in place where we know who that next coach is, and we're excited about that next head coach of the Portland Timbers. Certainly there's different things that can play into that timeline, looking at different situations with coaches, and some coaches not coaching right now, others potentially coaching, and a pretty big competition that we're all aware of taking place this summer in this country. So I feel good about the group that we have and some of the options that are there for us.
You've hired a head coach before. What is the difference in hiring a head coach in the off season compared to hiring a head coach in the middle of the season?
Well, I would tell you, and I said it a few weeks ago, I think going through that process early on as a young GM gave me the confidence that we could do this now, and we can do it in a manner that we feel really confident that we're going to have really good options, and that next person that we bring in is really going to fit us as a club, and it's going to be a great partnership. So I think that was a really important thing for me to be able to lean on. We've also taken a more analytical approach to what we've done. So there was a lot of work that I would also say went into this as we need to plan. And ultimately in my position, I have to look ahead for the club as well. So I'd never really felt like we were just sort of starting from scratch, and there hadn't been some work there or understanding of what it was that we were trying to accomplish. So that's allowed us really the last 3 weeks just to get to people and go through presentations, have in-depth conversations on a number of different things. And ultimately, like I said, there's 20 games left in the season. We still feel that this group is capable of competing at a higher level. Obviously, you're always looking at the balance between short and long term when you make these decisions as well. But we feel like not waiting, and not sort of just seeing this season out is only going to hold us back from where we want to be 6, 12, 18 months from now.
What do you think it says about the MLS that Phil was the sixth longest tenured coach in this league?
Well, one, I would say it's professional sports.
Yeah.
But I would say, look, this is a trend in MLS. It's like this in a lot of other areas around the world. And I think as MLS continues to grow and develop, you may see some of these decisions. And look, I would say I've seen some of these decisions where maybe I don't disagree with, maybe I disagree with them. I think you've got to be supportive of a head coach. You've got to be really supportive. You've got to give that person time. I truly believe that this club has done that and tried to over-support coaches at times as well, because we've had such good people in those positions. And so for us, like I said, the next person comes in, we have to continue to support that person and allow that person the time as well to help, have their vision on the field play out, and see those things happen for us as well.
Are there any friendly matches in the works to play before you guys return against Seattle in a month?
Yeah, so we're in the process of that. We will play an exhibition match on July 9th, which is 7 days out for us from that first game. We looked at trying to schedule another one a week prior to that. I think some of the challenges we have is, one, what does the competition look like? We will play another MLS club on that July 9th date, and there'll be more details that come out on that. But we also play a week earlier than most MLS clubs as well, and so we kind of had to be pretty strategic about which clubs we approached, to try to partner for that. But we will do that. I think most clubs probably will, and if anything, I think what's happening is, going into this break with the World Cup this summer, it's kind of starting to get our minds, on a new timeline of that season shift and calendar shift that's coming next season. And you'll start to almost see like the preseason kind of split into two, mini preseasons as well. So I think you'll see these things happen quite a bit, where teams got to kind of partner together for sort of a one-off friendly.
It isn't just the head coaching search that's a major story within the team right now. Just how are you assessing the rest of the roster, and are you planning on the new coach coming in and starting to make have his voice in personnel decisions as well?
Yeah, well, look, it's important that the next head coach also gets to have an opinion, and a say on what they see within the team, but ultimately the way that they also want to play. But look, I would say within that, there's probably a majority of the work that we're looking at and things that we have to prepare for that we know are going to exist. We know that there's going to be interest in 2 or 3 of our top players and some of our younger players. That's continued to happen for us regularly. So we have to have planning there. And then I would say, look, we've had the opportunity with some of these finalist candidates to go through a real in-depth look at the roster and talk about what we think needs to change to improve the group. I've seen an alignment, across the board in some ways with that. So now identifying what those changes are and who those new players potentially could be, that's a little bit separate to where we'd want to make sure that the head coach has the ability to help us in that process. But we've got to continue that plan forward. We're in the process of doing that.
And then as the rest of the season goes forward, even though the club's currently out of playoff positions right now, what is your realistic attainable goal for this group by the end of the season, by the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, look, great question. First, I would say I think we're underperforming where we can be. I do think we had a difficult schedule with travel and opponents that we played in the first half of the season. We've got a weighted schedule, with more home games and some stretches where we've got 3-4 home games in a row. Ultimately, we want to qualify for the playoffs. But within that's just one achievement within itself. I think we've got to feel that we're building momentum as well. And with a new head coach and probably a new group of staff in those coaching positions, that we feel like, that vision on the field is starting to gain momentum and to gain strength, so that as we also go into next season and beyond, those things are only, continuing to build for us. Like I said, a big part of the reason why we made the decision when we did, but also wanting to hire a permanent head coach before the end of the season.
So, Ned, I have a question that, a lot of players speak Spanish.
Yep.
Do you guys are looking in Europe or maybe in Mexico, somewhere else, to have a coach that speaks both language or Spanish?
Yeah, look, I would say we've spent, time with 20 to 25 coaches. We've spent time with 5 to 6 coaches that have head coaching experience in MLS. We've spoken with 5 coaches with a South American or Latin American background, 5 coaches, within the European leagues as well. We've spoken to assistant coaches in MLS. We've spoken with, lower level professional coaches in this country as well. So we've spoken to a lot. We understand the diversity that exists within our group and the importance of that. I'm a big believer that part of the reason why players can come here and settle is because of how diverse it is. So it's something that's very, very important for us, is communication, understanding that we're going to be able to get clear messaging into players, regardless of which is maybe the language that they're most comfortable with. That will be a big determining factor for us, to have some support within the staff, or having a coach that's maybe got a bilingual background as well. That's been a part of the conversation with all coaches that we've spoken to up to this point.
What will be your message after, the last game? People were, all the fans were not happy with the team. What will be the message from you to them, in this process to hire a new coach?
Yeah, I mean, look, the last game, you could feel that the nerves and the uncertainty and the anxiety of a lot of different things, players and staff, existed. That's the truth of it. I've been there many times and I've seen these things. The group was trying to find their way back into the game, from an early deficit. They tried and tried, but ultimately didn't come back. I don't think that didn't justify why a decision was made or why a decision wasn't made that one game. But I definitely think you could sense some of the nerves and anxiety around that. Look, we've got to build confidence back within the players, and a lot of what we've done on a temporary basis is to put that structure in place with the players first and foremost, in our mindsets, giving them the structure that they need within training, within having an elite environment day to day. We've got to get them back in a good place and confident. And then certainly, like I said, as the next head coach comes in and the next group of coaches, they've got to start to build that trust in those relationships with the players as well. So it's a very fluid process, but ultimately, the results haven't been good enough the first 14 games, and we've got to work back to seeing an improved version of ourselves for sure.
What were your thoughts just seeing the Timbers Army like that during that game?
Honestly, my thought was I wish that last game for Phil would have gone differently, because I know how passionate he was about the club, about the team. I know how much the players care, and ultimately I know that they still were trying and giving everything that they had. It wasn't for lack of effort, as I said before. And so as that's playing out, that's kind of where my mind was at the time, and I've said that much to Phil as well, and he was great about everything in terms of understanding where the club was at. And look, we want to have the players and the group and the staff and the club have to get back to a place where we're performing at a more consistent level, that there's conviction from everybody and from fans and the most important fans in this league, that we're back on track and heading in the right direction, and give them the reasons to support and to cheer as they do all the time.
Ned, are all the candidates that you've interviewed on board with starting in July, or is there a scenario in which they would start in 2027?
Look, I would say we have spoken to a number of coaches, a lot of really, really good coaches, and a few really high-profile coaches. It's got to be a perfect fit, and it's got to be a coach that's buying into the project here and what we're about, buying into the club, buying into the city of Portland, and everything that this place has to offer, because it's a special place. If those things don't align for different reasons, and that happens at times, right? Good coaches have good opportunities. Then we have to make sure that that's going to be a big part of the decision that we do. And what I would say is, I go back to even the time previous when we heard, like, having that person that's fully on board, but like eager and excited to get going again with this group of players at this club. To me, that's a powerful thing. And that can really be what springboards us in the second half of the season.
Is the phone getting a little bit louder when Finn Sermon's playing at a World Cup?
Oh, yeah. I spent my 2 hours on my couch last night with my kids after just continuing to watch nonstop World Cup soccer. But I don't understand why anyone is surprised anymore. The kid does it consistently every game at a top level. He's going to have some difficult opponents to play against in the next two group games as well. But I think people should just start to expect to see that every single game, and not be surprised. I'm not surprised. No one at this club is. He's got a top mentality. This is a top player that we're talking about. It's the reason why he's so important for us, and plenty of clubs around the world have already recognized that.
We're going to wrap it up there.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ned.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ned.